And now, here's Tucker Carlson and the situation.
Thanks, Joe. We have Hurricane Rita, the enormous and growing Hurricane Rita, covered from every possible angle tonight. We'll have live reports from the Gulf Coast, and we'll talk to a storm chaser who just came back from flying into the center of that storm. But we start with a harrowing scene at Los Angeles International Airport tonight. JetBlue Flight 292 had trouble with its front landing gear shortly after taking off for New York from Burbank's Bob Hope Airport. The Airbus 320, which was carrying 146 passengers and crew, circled L.A. for 3 hours to burn off fuel before making its approach. As millions of Americans sat glued to their sets saying silent prayers, the pilot made a perfect landing at LAX, dragging the flaming front gear you see here as the plane skidded to a stop. No one was hurt in that incident. We have a passenger who was on the plane. NBC Universal employee Mike Michelli joins us now by phone. Mike, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, I think people who are watching this and saying prayers for you, the millions of people who are watching this unfold, couldn't help but wonder what you thought, since you were on JetBlue and you could see this on your television. I mean, that just sounds so surreal. Did you watch the coverage of it as it was happening to you?
Yeah, we were on. We watched. I was watching MSNBC. It was most of the people around me. It was kind of it was surreal. That's the right word. It was kind of in disbelief. But the pilot was great. About 10 minutes after takeoff, he alerted us that there was an issue with the landing gear not performing correctly. And they were able to send a signal via satellite to a technical crew in New York, who was able to see that there was an issue. They thought it might just be a sensor, but they had us fly to Long Beach to do a flyby very low so that the technical people via binoculars could see the issue. And they could tell. Go ahead.
So what were people saying on the flight as this was, or did anybody start to lose control and freak out on the plane?
No, nobody really lost it bad. I mean, there was definitely nervous people, a couple people, comforting others, holding hands, hugging the people they were, their loved ones next to them. But nobody, got out of hand, and I think that's to be credited to the pilot and the flight crew, who I think handled everything, just better than could ever be expected.
What did you think at any point that you might not make it?
Well, you don't want to, but it's to see the landing gear on television and to hear the commentary about things that could happen and it could break off and this could happen, that could happen. You can't not think that this could be a pretty rough ride.
You had a long time to think about it too. I mean, what did you think?
Yeah, well, you think a little bit about family, and then you put things into perspective, and then you hope things work out. The tough part was really about 2 minutes to go was the really major anxiety of actually landing and going through that experience and smelling. You smell burnt rubber.
Did you call anyone from the plane? You all are flying pretty low. I imagine your cell phone or your BlackBerry must have worked. Did you call your family?
I was able to send an email. So I sent an email, and then as soon as we landed, I called my wife. But I did send an email right before we landed.
Oh, were people on their phones on the plane?
Excuse me, say again?
Were people talking on their cell phones on the plane?
No, I don't think. I heard a couple ringing as we landed, so the people had some on.
What did the landing feel like?
It was really smooth, actually. It was, you could tell that the nose was up for a considerable amount of time. And it was almost like we thought, I thought it was even down, I think, before it was down. But then you could tell, when the nose finally came down, and you could start smelling rubber. But it was very, very smooth. It was not a hard landing. It was very, very soft. I mean, he really put it down about as soft as I think anybody could have expected.
Well, I'm sure you've seen the pictures by now, so you know that the whole front of the plane, that the whole landing gear was just, for a moment, engulfed in flames. So it was like a blowtorch. Did you have any sense of that when you were on the plane?
No, we didn't. No.
Did you know the person next to you on the flight?
No. Actually, one of the guys that I work with was traveling in the seat in front of me. There were 3 of us from NBC Universal on the flight.
Did you talk to the pilot on the way out? Did they open the door to the cockpit?
Well, yeah. I mean, he was, congratulating people and saying thanks and et cetera as we walked out. So we just said thanks.
How excited were people that you were safe?
Oh, right after we landed, of course, there was a huge applause and people, yelling in exuberation, really relief that we were okay. And hats off to the pilot and the crew again. They really did a fantastic job.
Yeah, I can't wait to interview that pilot, or I hope somebody does. Now, we talked to one of your colleagues tonight, one of your coworkers, who said he was hoping to catch a later flight to New York tonight. Is that in your plans?
No. No, I'm
you.
on my way home. I'm on my way home with my wife, and then we're going to talk about, tomorrow I'm going to figure out what I do about going to New York, but tonight I'm going home.
Good for you. I think that's wise. Congratulations, Mike Michelli. Boy,
Thanks.
That was dramatic. Thanks. Well, nobody in the news business knows more about airplanes and what can go wrong with them than NBC's Robert Hager, who joins us now by phone. Thanks for coming on.
Hi, Tucker. Hi.
Now, what do we have any idea how this happened at this point?
Well, some mechanical issue with trying to retract the nose gear. It must have happened when the nose gear was in the down position as he took off, and he tried to retract it, and it wouldn't retract. And he's getting a signal that indicated to him that the wheels were sideways. This is an unusual problem. It's not the ordinary kind of landing gear problem. So just to carry on with the scenario of what happened then, first they thought that probably this was a problem with the sensors, the indicators in the cockpit, and that the landing gear must in fact be okay. But they flew low over the tower at Long Beach as it happened, because it's a little easier with the traffic patterns to get down lower against the control tower there, and the controllers looked at it from the tower, and they confirmed that the wheels were in this odd, very unusual position. They're sideways to the runway, the front landing gear. And so then they spent 3 hours burning off all the fuel, because it's important to get rid of all that highly explosive fuel if you fear that something might happen on landing. So he's out over the Pacific burning off that fuel. At that time, I'm sure there must have been many discussions over the plane's radio of how to handle this. They'd have been on the phone with JetBlue and with the mechanical department there, with the manufacturer Airbus. So they decide how they're going to bring it in, and that is that they bring it in nose high, set the main gear down, and hold off on letting the nose gear down until the very end of the run down the runway, and then let it down very gently. So that decision was made. Having made that, they made preparations like even moving some of the passengers to the rear of the plane and some of the hand-carried luggage from the overhead racks to make the rear of the plane heavier, at least get weight off the front end where that front landing gear is. So then comes the moment of truth. They bring that plane in, it gently touched down, and here you got to say it was just a remarkable job of airmanship in this day of automation. It came down to human hands-on flying this plane, and the crew did a wonderful job of it. They landed on the main gear as they'd planned, held that nose off for maybe 15 seconds or longer, used almost all the runway they could, and then calculating just how much runway they had left, and that they're at the lowest possible speed they could be. Then they put that front gear down very gently, and it held. I mean, as you saw, the tires blew. You got that fire from the heat of the tires blowing. But the main thing is that the gear, the nose didn't swerve off to one side. The plane didn't tip as it might have. All kinds of things could have happened at that point.
And what about that? I got an email from a friend of mine who's a pilot who said that this landing was, as you said, remarkable. I mean, this guy really knew what he was doing and did an amazing job. But what if he hadn't? I mean, what could have gone wrong specifically?
Yeah, the main thing I believe would have been if the nose had veered to one side or the other, as you expected. It might not have been too unusual to imagine that could have happened with the wheels facing sideways, so it can't get the traction to keep the plane going forward. If the nose had veered to one side or the other, a plane would have either catapulted off the runway into the rough terrain there, could have upset, or it could force a wing down. Wing hits the ground, and then it could flip. So then you get, then all kinds of things could happen. The plane breaks open. Just the impact would be enough to cause heavy casualties. But then, moreover, the wings break open and the fuel is in the wing tanks, and there's still plenty of fuel left, even though they burned off all they could. The fuel explodes, and you would have had a terribly serious situation.
Well, thank God we didn't. Robert Hager,
thank
NBC News. Thanks a lot.
Okay, Tucker.
Now on to the other big story of the day, Hurricane Rita. It has already entered the record books. NBC Weather Plus meteorologist Bill Cairns joins us now for a look at the storm's strength and where it's going. Bill?
Oh, good evening, Tucker. You're now looking at Rita, the third strongest hurricane ever recorded in this modern era. This pressure at 897 is amazingly low. Hardly ever do you get below 900. This system right now is actually stronger than Katrina ever was. Just to give you some kind of rationale of how strong this storm is, it's only about 550 to 600 miles away from the coastline now. You can just see how impressive it is, covering at least half of the Gulf, clouds all the way up to Pensacola, all the way southwards down past Cuba and down into the Yucatan. Everyone wants to know about that forecast path, and it has changed ever so slightly, a minor little tweak. We've now taken Corpus Christi southwards down to Brownsville, Texas, out of this yellow cone of uncertainty, I like to call it. This is the potential strike zone within this yellow. This is going to get more and more narrow over the next 36 to 48 hours. We have not taken western sections of Louisiana out. If anything, it is shifted slightly to the north. I'm talking only 10 or 15 miles, but that's going to mean a big difference when we actually talk about the size of the eye and where the worst is. There's Houston. Galveston is located just below the O and the N in Houston. That, if this track held true, this means the right eye wall of the storm, the strongest winds, the worst storm surge, would be heading into the bay there outside of Houston and also right over the top of Galveston. So this would be the worst case scenario. As far as intensity, we're thinking Category 4. So in other words, we think the storm's going to peak over the next 12 hours, and then it'll probably maintain itself through most of tomorrow and hopefully slightly weaken at least down to a Category 4 before landfall. Now, if everyone hopefully can remember Katrina only about 3-4 weeks ago, peaked at a 5, made landfall at a 4, and you saw the devastation from a Category 4 storm.
Well, I've noticed that, Bill, these storms do seem to weaken as they approach land. Why is that?
Well, not all do. It's been a recent trend, though. Dennis did earlier this year, Ivan did last year, but Charlie did not. Charlie rapidly intensified just south of Tampa, and that's why the devastation was so bad there. What's going to happen here is the water is just a little bit cooler right around the coastline, and that's cool water actually doesn't help the storm. That's the fuel for the storm. The cooler the water, the weaker the storm. The warmer the water, the stronger the storm, and that's why, Tucker, that water's just a little bit cooler in the western Gulf. We're hoping that's the trick that will knock this down a notch or two.
All right, Bill Cairns, NBC Weather Plus. Thanks. Still ahead of the situation, Katrina's strength was historic. The world's leading authority on hurricanes said Rita could be just as bad. We have a dire forecast from a man who knows. And while most people are running from the storm sensibly, some people are flying directly into it. We'll talk to a storm-chasing pilot who just flew through Hurricane Rita. Stay with us.
You sacrifice for your kids, but never when it comes to the taste of Diet Dr. Pepper. It tastes more like regular, so you sacrifice nothing.
I was about 17. I started Fry Farms. I sold our first load of pumpkins to a local Walmart. One by one, my brothers came home from college to join me in the business. 10 years later, we're selling millions of cantaloupes, watermelons, and pumpkins that can be found in Walmart stores across the nation. The business that we do with Walmart affects our growers and suppliers in a positive way. As we grow with Walmart, so do these other companies. Walmart has helped build the foundation for a great business. It makes me feel great. I love it.
These are my closest friends. We laugh together, play together, even our kids play together. And we all take Centrum.
Centrum is so complete, each of their bodies can put Centrum to work in the way that's best to help them stay healthy. Centrum, more complete from A to Zinc.
Coming up, we'll talk to the mayor of a Texas town that finds itself directly in Rita's projected path. Plus, is there an explanation for